Multitasking, we've all heard of it and we've all done it. But is it really as effective as we think it is? In spite of the appearance that multitasking can help you accomplish more in less time, countless research shows that doing multiple things at the same time can actually work against you. In this video, we'll speak about why multitasking is actually worse for your brain than you think. But first, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about brain and behavior. So, despite what we might think and feel, it is actually better to work on one single task at a given time, giving it your full attention. By doing so, you can increase efficiency of that given task, reduce stress and cognitive load by doing so, and overall enhance your performance. The biggest misconception of multitasking is that we can perform the same tasks at the same time effectively. While executing all given tasks is definitely doable, the question at hand is whether or not it's actually effective. Instead of performing multiple tasks simultaneously, multitasking is nothing more than just switching rapidly between different tasks. As a result, you are forcing the mind to scatter from one thing to another without real closure of anything. As Cynthia Kubu, PhD neuropsychologist in the Center for Neurological Restoration states, when we think we're multitasking, most often we aren't really doing two things at once, but instead we're doing individual actions in rapid succession, or task switching. So what are the negative effects of multitasking? There are plenty of studies that show that multitasking is actually doing more harm to us than good. For example, there's decreased efficiency and productivity. Studies illustrate that when multitasking, our brains are simply switching gears back and forth. This is inefficient for more complex tasks that require active attention, and it makes us more susceptible to making errors. There's also that added element of elevated stress levels. Whether we feel it directly or not, multitasking can be quite stressful on us. The constant shift of attention and focus can cause your brain to feel anxious and mentally exhausted. And when we have a higher sense of exhaustion, this can quickly lead to burnout. There's also the added element of reduced creativity. Multitasking can limit our ability to generate new ideas and think critically. By trying to focus on different things at the same time, we limit the mental capacity and flexibility to engage in divergent thinking. We're also at a greater risk of distraction. When we are multitasking, switching from one gear to the next, as we mentioned earlier, divides our attention. It makes it harder for us to place our full focused attention on one thing. For example, in a study where participants were asked to do some minor tasks during a driving simulation, they found that those who were multitasking had poor driving performance. This is no different for more menial tasks such as media tasking, which is where you're listening to music or scrolling through social media all at the same time. The studies show that participants who media multitasked were far more distracted than those who didn't. And this effect has long-lasting effects later down the road, even when you're trying to focus on one thing. This is especially evident for a generation that is constantly multimedia tasking, checking your social media account while responding back to your friend, while talking on the phone, while checking the browser. There's so many things we're doing all at a single given time. And finally, multitasking is also bad for your brain. It's not just a matter of behavior either. Our brains can look different when we're multitasking. For example, one study at the University of Sussex revealed that regular multitaskers showed to have lower brain density in the region of the brain for empathy, cognitive control, and emotional control. Additionally, in another study by the University of London, those who multitask soared lower in IQ levels, demonstrating parallel levels to that of people who stayed up all night. Some scores were so extreme that it showed that multitasking men lowered their scores to the average range of a child. So what can we do to prevent multitasking? The steps are relatively simple. For one, we can set priorities. Make a to-do list and prioritize tasks according to their importance. Work on the most important task until it is complete before moving on. Leveraging things like the prioritization method can definitely help in this. Secondly, focus on one task at a given time. As mentioned earlier, multitasking is nothing more than task switching, so in reality, you are just distributing your attention to different things. Using the Pomodoro technique, a technique we mentioned in previous videos, is definitely useful as you're just distributing your time in intervals of 25 minutes and then taking breaks. Thirdly, make sure to schedule breaks. Your brain needs to rest and recharge. Use breaks to do something that helps you relax and de-stress. You don't want to constantly go ham at everything. Also learn to minimize interruptions. The easiest way to prevent yourself from getting distracted is to turn off all notifications from your phone or computer. Even if you're working, you can change the status of your work messenger to currently in focus mode or away for a few minutes, and use that time to really hone in on the work that you're doing. And finally, make sure to time block. This is another time management technique that involves staying focused on specific blocked periods of time in your calendar. It definitely isn't easy these days to block out all the noise and focus on one thing, especially when everything around us is beeping and ringing to grab our attention. This is why it's important to break this misconception of multitasking and make sure we're doing what we can to prevent ourselves from being distracted. Minimize the noise around you to focus better on what you can do to maintain that attention, so that you can use that attention to the things that matter. To learn more about time management, productivity, and how we can ultimately optimize our behaviors, comment, like, and subscribe to this channel so we can continue to feed you nuggets of knowledge on brain and behavior.